The internet was a blessing from the Lord Jesus to spread the word of God throughout the world. But pedophiles and Muslims stole it and used its holy power to seduce children like yourself.
You smoked all of it, didn't you? I mean, what are you talking about? There are tons of people here.
Hang on, I have to do something. Check this out.
Why? Because Jewish people rock!
His laugh. His funny little requests.
Touch me.
His reprimands.
Touch me harder.
I know now that it could never work between us. As much as we wanted to, it could never be. Not because you're a rabbit, but because you're black.
Hello everybody, I'm Hal.
I'm Pax.
And this is Brotakus, the show where two guys who love anime do a deep dive on what is and isn't worth watching. We believe you don't have to have a major in anime studies to enjoy this wild, beautiful, and strange art form, and we're lucky to have you on this journey with us. Also, shout outs to all of you out there, all of you lovely fellow Brotakus that have been giving us love, sending us hate mail, commenting on our websites. We love you. We want to hear from you more. Feel free to keep doing what you're doing. Reach out to us. We'll give you a shout out on the air.
Shout out to everybody sending me money on my OnlyFans. Shout out to everybody giving me Reddit gold for my GameStop posts on Wall Street bets. Shout out to everybody who just shows up at my house in the middle of the night with a decapitated head of a crow in the backyard, chanting hymns in reverse. I know and love our fans. Keep doxing us. Keep all of our Brotakus and Dojinshis out there. Keep standing because we love you too. We love you too.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that lovely lovely work on DeviantArt, that Rule 34 Hal and Pax. Thank you so much for that. We really
love
appreciate
that.
It. We're flattered. We're very, very flattered.
The world would be better if people made more podcast art icons fuck. It
right.
really would. Yeah.
Yes. So, anyway, today we are joined by a very good friend of ours who is new to anime. Natalie Schaffer is a now Chicago-based singer, actor, songwriter, and all-around lovely person, wonderful person. She's fantastic, tremendous, really. I know it. You know it. Everyone
very
knows
vascular person, very fantastic.
Very
Great
fantastic.
to have her. Very lucky.
And if you want to hear her sing her little heart out and write some beautiful, incredible music, check out at Judy's.basement on Insta for her band, her her amazing,
You're being very
fantastic,
diminutive.
Yeah,
We're apologizing to Natalie.
patronizing. I'm going to patronize my guest today.
Natalie and her itty bitty band and her cute little heart, and she sings some great songs.
I'm very, very sorry. Her amazing band, Judy's Basement, on Instagram.
Yes, based.
Check her out. It's amazing. It's hot. She's great. We are psyched to have her on the show today. Natalie Schaffer, how are you? Welcome to Brotaku's Anime Club.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I was just saying to Pax, I'm so thrilled to be welcome in a place that I know nothing about what we're about to talk about, and y'all are still excited to have me here. So,
I think you're being too modest. I think you know everything there is to know about anime.
Let's go. Going too far. Overcorrecting.
No, okay.
No, Natalie, you actually know everything. You're a living god.
I am anime.
So Natalie.
Oh, fuck.
So first off, how is everyone doing today? Everyone's good. Everyone's, based, having a good time. Yeah? Pax, how are you?
Yes.
Natalie?
I am good. I am based in the sense that heroin is flowing through my veins, listening to Lil B, Ellen DeGeneres, chefing it up. Life is very good. We're here in increasingly sunny Western New York right now. It's snowing on the ground, and later today, my roommates have planned something birthday-related for me after I get off here, and I don't know what it is, but I'm scared.
But it's not your birthday today, yes?
It's not.
Your birthday a few days
by the
from now.
time... Yeah, so the day this releases will be the day after my birthday, so all tribute, instead of leaving the ox carcass on my front step, instead donate it to your local, Children's Defense Fund or, the Trans Lifeline, great charities like that. They're really who's in need of the ox carcass this year, so really help them out.
And I
How you
honestly...
doing, Hal?
I'm very, very excited for your birthday as well, because I'm personally looking forward to when you receive the gift that I'm sending you.
You send me a gift?
Yeah, it's I don't want to spoil it, but it's definitely not a assless Monkey D. Luffy cosplay costume.
Ooh,
It's
damn
definitely
it.
not that.
That's going to sit on my Amazon wish list forever. None of my friends are taking me up, but I'm very excited. Thank you very much. And Natalie, you just got out of work. How you doing?
I did. I'm good. I just started this job a few days ago. Today was my last day of training, actually. I think I am very bad at it, but room for improvement. That's what I see. Always growing, always learning.
Exactly. And just like the great anime pro tags of Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, every other shonen, every other seinen, every single pro tag out there, you have to train in order to get better. You have to train in order to improve. And right now we're in the pilot episode for Natalie's job. We are in the pilot. We are Naruto sitting on the swing outside on the tree, not being allowed to go hang out with the other children of Konoha.
I'm just living the training montage.
Well, this train to Rip City has run into an accident. There is a cow on the tracks. We've been derailed. Oh God! But I totally know where to pick up, Hal, because I gotta say, Natalie, I don't know how. I think it's that you subscribe to our new YouTube page. Check us out on YouTube. How come all of the people on Brotakus are so hot? These hosts are so gorgeous, and they host an anime podcast. Nani the fuck?
Whoa.
Yeah. So watch us on YouTube. But I saw your YouTube page, and you have a lot of videos of you singing there, and they are gorgeous.
Oh,
you do,
thank
and
you.
some of them have several hundred views, and they're pretty good.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Yeah,
I definitely am not technology oriented. So what I do is I post them and then I never look again.
Johnny Depp does the same thing. So that means that you are technically of the same caliber.
My God.
Recipe for success right there.
Oh God.
So before we get too far off the rails, all of you listening out there, we're here to talk about anime. We love you. We're here. We love each other so much that we just want to talk and bullshit all day. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about a very, very special anime that we watched recently. One that was Natalie's first anime ever. Her introduction to this wild, beautiful, and strange world. And we definitely picked a doozy.
You sure did.
Yeah. So, Pax and I have covered a good number of shows and films since we created the Brotakus Anime Club. And the majority, I think, of which were actually anime, besides half of them.
Besides every episode, we have Mike Flanagan on.
Right. Besides Mike
ignited
Flanagan.
my love of anime, and it's like, dude, come on and interview. Let's watch Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Sorry again, Mike.
Mike's like, hey, do you get to watch anime? I'm like, no.
Your talents are wasted on that. We need you outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely. We have witnessed incredible moments that made us cringe, made us laugh and cry, some moments that made us scratch our heads and wonder how they ever reached an audience. However, this next show makes us do all of those things at once, which is why I am so excited that we're talking about it today. So, today we are talking about the iconic, the beautiful, the strange, and beautiful show, Ghost Stories.
I'm totally adding that there.
So, Pax, have you ever heard of Ghost Stories really before we started talking about doing it? What was your experience with that before we began?
Oh yeah, I have. So the thing about Ghost Stories is that it is what is referred to as a cult classic. And not the video of and I don't mean cult classic the video of Bill Clinton and the Freemasons on Epstein's flight performing dark rituals. I mean a cult classic in the sense that when it came out, I was shocked because most people said this is the worst thing ever made. This is a very bad show. This show sucks and we hate it. But now most people look at it and say, well, this is probably where anime peaked. Anime should have stopped here because they figured it out. I kind of feel that way. I love this show, dude. I love this show. The first time I saw it, I thought it was dank. It was probably high school when I first saw it, which is an X number of years ago. Now I'm still very young. I have my zhuzh still. But shit, I turned 26 this Wednesday, dude. I'm gonna die. But
26?
26. Put me in
If
the
it makes
grave.
you feel any better, I just moved in with a bunch of people who are all 20 to 22. Never felt older in my life.
Wow. Well, we're still all on the cusp. We're kind of like Gen Z millennial hybrids, and so
Yeah.
I too am a young kid. I'm extremely TikTok. I'm very cowabunga with it. Pepsi, I love it. So shout out to all my fellow Gen Z kids there. Anyway, Ghost Stories is pretty legendary, known for things where I don't know if you want me to spoil it yet, but
No,
what was your prior experience, brother?
Yeah, so Ghost Stories is iconic in a way that, like, infamous is probably the best word for Ghost Stories, because when it originally came out, it didn't do so hot, and then there was a new take on it, and then it suddenly became amazing. It became this beautiful piece of art, and I really think I would compare Ghost Stories to like the works of Vincent van Gogh, works that were, when he was alive, were kind of like shunned. They were like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But then post-mortem, after he died, they were like, oh, he was a genius. How couldn't we have seen it? We're fools. Ghost Stories is very, very similar in that. Natalie, before I give a quick summary of what Ghost Story is about, tell me in one sentence your experience with Ghost Stories.
So I think I'm just going to use one word. And it was, what?
Okay.
It started with like a normal, what? And then it went all the way up to, what?
Yes, exactly. And that was probably very similar to my reaction at first as well. And those of you listening, let me just give you a quick publication history, tell you about the plot, tell you about what it's about, so that you finally understand why we're reacting like this. So, Ghost Stories follows Satsuki Miyanoshita, who moves with her family to the hometown of her deceased mother. On her first day of school, Satsuki, her brother Kaichiru, a first grader Hajime Aoyama, their neighbor Momoko Koigakubo, who was an older schoolmate, and Leo Kakinoki, a classmate and friend of Hajime's, they visit an abandoned school building adjacent to the current school and discover that it is haunted. It is haunted. There are ghosts. Satsuki realizes, oh, my mom used to be the principal here, and she dealt with all the ghosts and sealed them away, and that was Kermit the Frog, everybody. Thank you. And then...
the evil spirits are infesting the place. Satan has risen a demonic army out of hell.
So now these ghosts are all, it gets wacky. They meet ghosts. Their place is being disturbed, and they got to seal the ghosts up. Now, the reason it's so weird is because this was previously known as Ghost at School. It is a Japanese anime television series, and it's based on a book by Toru Tsunemitsu. It was produced by Studio Pierrot and Aniplex and was broadcast in Japan from 2000 to 2001. And it was awful. People hated it. People were just like, man, this show's whack. His shoes, whack. His hair, whack.
Whack. No drip. Bah.
No, so just awful. Did not do well. It bombed. And so Studio Pierrot and Aniplex were looking at this garbage fire in their hands, and they were just like, well, what do we do with this? And the North American company ADV Films came up and said, hey, I will take that film off your hands for a modest price, and I will see what I can do with it. I will see if I can resurrect this fallen anime.
They got given 4 specific rules. Can I share those rules?
I have the rules. I do have them. Yes.
All right. Well, you get to it whenever. You're doing so good, honey.
Yes,
I love
I'm gonna
this.
do it.
I love this for you.
So basically what happens is Aniplex says, sure, here you go. You can change the script. You can do a lot of stuff, but we have 4 rules for you. 4 rules that we really, really need you to adhere to. Otherwise, you're good. So,
thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not kill.
Yes.
Thou shalt not get horny for anime girls.
Yes. So one of the rules were, don't change the character names. That includes the ghosts. Don't change the way the ghosts are slain or defeated, which is because it's a reference to Japanese folklore. And also, don't change the core meaning of each episode. What is the 4th one? I have 3. actually.
So the fourth one was because essentially the show, because I watched a couple interviews with like the voice actors here, is that the show was being pulled even from like the shelves of like Japanese blockbusters and places like that because it was not selling. And for them, they were experiencing like a loss here, but because they already had this contract whipped up with ADV, which was like a animation distributor in Houston, Texas, they said, okay, number 4, do whatever you can to make the show successful. They said, we don't care if you make a profit. We just need to break even on this. Anything that'll get eyes on this, just do it, as long as you follow the other 3 rules.
And they did. They absolutely did. So
They did.
They did. So essentially, what they do is they take the script. They're like, okay, we're just not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep the characters mostly the same. But we are going to completely change a few key elements of their characters. So the main character is like a very, very strong, gutsy female character. Typical anime protag. Her little brother, on the other hand, is supposed to be like a little timid, little brother baby that, he's scared, but sometimes is courageous at like key moments. Whereas in this...
and so rather than explaining how, I think we should kind of like show how...
Please.
Natalie, do you have any like standout lines from this that stuck in your head where you kind of realize that something happened here? Because everything about the show, it has like a typical anime opening where it's like, typical like 90s anime where, the kids and the regular track of music, and it's animated kind of like shittily for the most part. But pretty quickly you realize something's up. When did that moment happen for you, Natalie?
Yeah, I think it took me probably longer than it should have.
Because this was your first anime. Oh.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you the exact moment when I was like, hold up. It was after all of the action is done in the first episode, and they're leaving the building and they realize, oh, wow, there must have been some sort of time warp because all the kids are leaving school. And we were only in there for like 10 minutes. And a teacher comes up to them and says, what are you kids still doing here? It's after school. Oh my God, cute kitty. In that exact voice. Like, that was what came out of his mouth. And I was like,
go home, you sillies.
Yes, that was it.
Yes.
Go home, you sillies. School is over. And I was like, what? And then I was like, something is wrong.
Yes. So what they did was they allowed the voice actors to ad-lib as basically as much as they wanted to. And there was even a rule about how they got in there, and they were like, okay, whoever gets to the voiceover studio first, whichever actor gets there first can ad-lib whatever the fuck they want. And then whoever gets there afterwards are just going to have to build on that joke for the rest of the recording session. That is how they did this. That is how little they cared about just what they were saying. So, like, I think for me, the first moment when I was like, yep, this holds up, is when like right in the beginning, they're driving to the new school. The main character sticks her head out the window. She's like checking out the scene, wind blowing through her hair. And her dad's like, Hajime, get your head back inside. You'll get your head cut off. Just like completely normal. Like, you're going to get your head cut off. And it just gets wackier and wackier in there. Every time like the little brother gets scared, he stops speaking. He just kind of like,
oh, catch a row.
And like does it not even when he's on screen, just constantly screaming.
In fact, I had to repeatedly like stop mid-episode and put headphones in because I was like, someone's gonna hear this through the wall and be like, what is happening there in that room?
Right. So we've covered that. Like, it's weird. The English voice actors got to ad-lib. They got to, maintain some elements of the characters. But what were our favorite characters, at least when they were reimagined? Because they have some very, very key differences from the original Japanese script that are very, very tongue-in-cheek and very irreverent. And they drastically change who these people are. So, Pax, who is your favorite character in Ghost Stories and why?
That is a great question. Mine's got to be Momoko. Momoko
Yes!
in this brings a great little hint of Western evangelicalism, where she is constantly talking about how she was a born again Christian from a born again Christian lesbian from a posh family who originally met the main character's mother when she was at a hospital because she was currently working in like the gay conversion ward. Oh God! What about you, Natalie? You got some standout characters?
Honestly, I think the Amano-Jaku cat was just, he was like not taking any of their shit. He was like, you kids are just the dumbest. And he comes in places where cats should not be. The cat would never have just wandered there. And he's there at the perfect time to just be like, you're all stupid and this is what you should do. And I was like, thank God.
So for context, Amano Jaku is like the villain in the first episode. He is this ancient spirit that lives within this haunted school. And he is chasing them through this abandoned haunted school building until finally the main character finds a book that her mother wrote, her lesbian principal mother wrote, in order to seal away all the spirits. And they say the ancient sealing ritual spell after drawing a circle in the middle of the chemistry lab. And this is how the spell goes. Jaku, Jaku, go to sleep. Jaku, Jaku, go to sleep. Jaku, Jaku, go to sleep. They just repeat it over and over and over again. And he's like, oh no, my weakness. Swiper, no swiping, no. And he like disappears. And they're like, woo, we beat him on a Nojaku. Fantastic. He's gone forever. And then they find out, no, he's not gone. He's actually now taken possession of our pet cat. So now the cat is this evil ancient spirit that is hell-bent on destroying them from within, but cannot do it because he is a cat and he is very, very unhappy about it. This show is insane. And I would have to agree. I
don't want to jump the shark too much.
Favorite.
I don't want to. Okay, can I interject?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I don't want to jump the shark too much, but the way in which the series devolves too, because it is like you're being a fraud in the same way that we talked about Earwig as being a show where you felt like you were insane, being slowly boiled alive by it. This is a show where it's exactly the same, where they ramp up the insanity over time. Because what was the chant that you just said?
Jaku, Jaku, go to sleep. Jaku, Jaku, go to sleep.
Right, because later in episode 13, they fight a ghost called Da Vinci, who is a ghost who is inside of a painting and fights, like everything that he paints gets sucked into like his paint world forever. And he's like this evil skeleton ghost named Da Vinci. And they come across a past version of their mother, who has left them the book that tells them how to deal with all the ghosts. And the mother, the past version, seals Da Vinci away by going like, Da Vinci, come real quick, disappear, then suck my dick. Da Vinci, come real quick, disappear, then suck my dick. And so we're introducing some profanity here. This show is this episode of Brotakus is gonna be especially profane because this show is sacrilege, dude. It's insane. Like, oh God,
absolutely nuts. So Natalie, considering this was your first experience with anime, and I can't necessarily go throughout the entire show. I really just want people to experience it themselves. Is this something that you enjoyed? Did you enjoy watching this show?
What a loaded question.
I don't know what you mean.
I don't want to say yes for the simple fact that they use racial slurs and just slurs that I never, ever, ever want to hear, and I never want anyone to hear. But I also don't want to say no for the simple fact that it's so ridiculous that it's like, once you've watched it, you have something that you could spend years talking about with your friends.
It changes you.
I'm so torn over it, really.
Yeah. I don't know, Pax. So, usually when we talk about a show, when we have an episode and a guest on, usually we're asking questions like, is it good? Would we recommend it?
Yeah, but you're totally right. It's like reviewing a shitpost. It's like reviewing.
Yeah, it really is.
And yet, I think that like the context of like where American comedy was at in the early aughts is important here, because like when you see all of the comedians like posts from like Twitter from the early aughts dug up, and just like where kind of like cringe comedy was there with both South Park, but also people just like trying to be offensive. It was literally people being like, "Oh boy, time to go suck Hitler's dick at the 9/11 factory." Like literally, like just what can I make the most offensive string of words possible?
Yeah.
No, like Gilbert Gottfried style dudes, just people where it's like, how can I make the most terrible references there? And I kind of want to tie this back by talking about how the ruling class has kind of will use the concept of the obscene to kind of like control people. And I think like when we talk about like cancel culture and harsh rules there, people will suddenly start claiming like civility politics to say like, no, this is wrong. You can't joke about this. You can't joke about that. When no one's taking it really seriously. Natalie's making a total point because they use the R word a lot in this show, especially to make fun of the little kid. And it's hard because like it's extremely offensive, but like there's a moment in episode 12 where there's like a floating nurse, and the running joke for her is that she looks like a drag queen. And they have these like really deep cuts where like when one of the kids says the line, "She looks like one of the man girls from Paris is Burning," like that's something where that's insanely offensive, but also Paris is Burning is a groundbreaking documentary about New York ballroom culture and drag culture, and you don't know about that unless you like are down with the culture. And so then making a joke about it is something where they have this like little signifier where I'm like, well, they kind of know what's up. And so since I get the sense that they know what's up, I'm more okay with when like the follow-up line is Momoko going, "Drag queens won't bother you. Worry more about priests." And then the young kid going... And then the young kid going, "Stop bothering me. I'm filling out my Special Olympics application." Like, it's insanely offensive. It's insane. Please go, Natalie. Please go.
No, that moment really, really got me. And I mean, it really took me back to like, when like that argument that was, I don't know if we're still having it and we shouldn't be, but like over gender neutral bathrooms, where people were taking like the most ridiculous arguments of like, well, if a man decides that they identify as a female today and they're in a women's bathroom ready to, attack somebody. And I'm like,
so I got a quick question for you.
Shouldn't we worry more about priests?
Yeah. I got a question for you. Silver Turfer here. I got a question about
He's back.
Gender neutral bathrooms. So you're telling me that if I were to surgically remove my dick and replace it with a jackhammer and then say, well, it don't matter, I'm not a man or a woman, can I go into a gender neutral bathroom, but I clearly got balls the size of bowling balls down below me? What is this country coming to?
So suddenly I'm wrecking the bathroom at the local Target, just busting down walls. But the social justice warriors saying that this is what they want? They want me to replace my penis with a hydraulic press and put every man, woman, and child in the town into it? Is that what they want?
That is exactly.
Yes.
That is exactly what
That's
I
the
want.
future the left wants. That's the future we're fighting for.
Yes.
What do we want?
And so I love that point that you make about ghost stories because it is extremely offensive. It is. And a lot of the comedy is where that lies. A lot of it is just being like, yes, we are doing things that are going to shock you. We will make fart jokes, but we also will make very, very deep pop culture references. And I like that you said that it sort of is a signifier for the fact that they know what they're saying. They're aware of the significance of what they're saying. But I think it's interesting that are you saying that ignorance of what they're saying is actually more offensive than what they're saying?
It might be, and here's the thing, it's kind of tough to talk about this because like South Park often has some pretty woke takes, and yet I know people who watch South Park, I know a lot of people who watch liberal shows like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where some people don't take the message that like, oh hey, these are people who the whole point is they're meant to be the opposite of what a person should be. That's the whole joke, but some people do watch it, some people who are racist and cruel, and they watch it and they go, it's like me, and that's not cool. And yet my brain always goes back to one of my favorite rap groups of all time, Killer Mike and LP, on Run the Jewels 3. They Run the Jewels 3 project. LP has this line where he goes, "You talk clean and bomb hospitals. so I talk with the foulest mouth possible. And it's a great line kind of calling out where power really lies here. And so in the culture, we're kind of emerging from this moment where like, I'm a gay bitch with a degree in gender studies. Like, I'm there at the slut walk. I'm there doing everything. But when the culture became so conservative and we had like literal white supremacists running the country, and still do, sorry, wake up, sheeple. But it's better now. It's better now. It is better now. It's better now. It's better now. I'm not, no one here is saying, let's take the black pill and go into oblivion. But the culture does overreact a little bit. The culture does overreact a little bit when it comes to things like this, because when the country is being run by people who are actively, literally posting every day, like, the dirty, dirty duck is in Nigeria, except they don't pronounce it with a soft G, like the weird people who are just doing these insane things. The only thing that marginalized people have is culture. And so we can kind of overreact with culture a little bit and be like, well, we need to keep this extra safe. We need to kind of put up these guardrails here because it's literally the only realm that we have to exercise power and to create safety for marginalized people. But if the culture is moving so far in the direction where when like the Joker movie came out, people were talking about like, is the Joker movie problematic because like, is this saying we should be like the Joker? And it's like, It's not. I'm really talking this to death. Natalie made the key point here, which is that, you feel conflicted about it.
Yeah.
No one is saying that Ghost Stories is how the world should be. And I felt kind of bad laughing at a lot of things, but a lot of the laughter, less than like, that was great, was like, that was outrageous and I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
It's shocking. And Natalie, I wanted to ask you, in your experience, because this is your first anime and because this is outrageous and you're aware that now that this is almost a parody, would you want to go back and watch the original content in order to see like how it stacks up? Would you want to just continue watching this content and maybe like, could a parody be better than other original contents? Do you think? Like, what do you think?
I definitely think a parody could be better than original content. Sometimes original content just misses the mark, and a parody could hit in a way that the original doesn't. I would love to see where this started and like what a leap they took to get where they did. Like, I want to know if it was already like on its way there or if it was all the way on the other side of where it is now, and these writers just went ham on this script.
And what's funny is that we didn't tell you anything about the show before you watched it. We were just like, hey, here's this really cool show called Ghost Stories. Here's my Crunchyroll information. Check it out and let us know what you think. And so first, we're very sorry for gaslighting you into watching Ghost Stories without telling you.
Very sorry.
What it was. But what were your first impressions going into the show about anime as a whole? And then experiencing this show without us giving you any context, and how did your like expectations change once you realized, oh, this isn't serious. This is farcical.
Right. Well, I had, I've started to watch other shows, but this is the first one I've watched all the way through.
Oh, which ones have you started watching?
I started watching JoJo's, and I started watching Attack on Titan and Castlevania.
Yes.
Yeah. And I all of those are so serious that I was like, first, when you just said the name Ghost Stories, I was like, I love paranormal stuff. I used to go ghost hunting in college. I love this. I can't wait to like see like Japanese mythology and like ghost stories. I love it. And then it had somewhat to do with that. And
you do
not
see
really. So that like going into it, I was just not expecting it to be like it was at all. I loved that it was, obviously very lighthearted, because it was on the opposite side of anything else I had watched. Titans is so dark. Castlevania's pretty dark, although has wonderful moments of like quippy humor that I love. And JoJo's is pretty serious too, especially the first season. I feel like it's all about like the action, the plot line,
Yeah, it's like campy in a way, but you're right. It is more dramatic.
Yeah, it's gonna change. It's gonna be different.
I'm so excited. But yeah, it was cool to experience something on the total opposite side of like Attack on Titan. But then I was expecting it to just be like lighthearted. I didn't expect it to take this sharp left turn into the parody that it is.
Into madness.
Into madness. Abject madness.
Absolutely.
And I loved the moments I really was like sort of starting to get into it were where they were like, that was last episode. That we did that on the last. I was like, this is so self-aware. Okay. I was like, now I see where we're at. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So it's definitely like a parody of the original content. And yet, regardless of the fact that it was a parody, it did way better when it was given to ADV Films than when it was with Animax. And they held up their end of the bargain in saying like, yep, we will take this, we will improve it, we will help you break even. So they did everything that they were supposed to do. But let's say, just for a moment, I will say this to both you, Pax and Natalie. Let's say, and we've done this before, that Animax comes to you with the broken corpse of Ghost Stories in its hands, bleeding out onto the pavement. And it says, please bring my pet back to life. Please, Pet Cemetery, this film. Bring it back. How would you go about bringing this back and making a viable show? Would you do anything different? Would you do exactly the same thing? What would you do, Natalie?
You know, I won't pretend to know more than the people who made this. You know, I trust their
pretend
judgment.
to know more. I want you to pretend to know more.
Pretending I know more for a half a second.
Yes.
Honestly, like, I say go for it if you want to do that parody. Absolutely. If you want to do that like shitpost kind of humor, go for it. If you want to be out there, go for it. I don't see any circumstance, any situation in which I would allow the R word or more for me, even more offensive than that is the F word for me. And not yes. And can I take
F
us
word?
Not fuck.
Okay.
Can I say it? As a penis enjoyer, may I?
Sure.
Fag, faggoty, fag.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
That is. And I was like, did they say the F-bomb in this show?
And if I can go on a little tangent as to why, as Pax gave me the mantle, True Crime Girl TM, I will take that up for a moment. So the place that word came from was when, like back in the day when there was a ton
the good old days.
The good old days. When there was a ton of hate crimes against gay men happening, what was often the means of disposing of their bodies was that they would wrap them up in rugs and burn them.
Ooh.
Like a cigarette.
Ooh.
Which is, you know, colloquially called a fag.
Yeah.
So I hate that to my core. And perhaps I should have put a trigger warning before that. Sorry. But I just, that
if me saying fag 17 times wasn't enough of a warning.
Hey guys, heads up, here it comes.
But it's just such violence. It's such just inhumanity. And the fact that that's where that word comes from, I just don't see any universe in which I would ever allow that into a project I was creating.
Okay. Good answer. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And fortunately, you do not have to resurrect the decaying corpse of Ghost Stories in your hands. Pax, let's say you're given the same opportunity. What do you do?
Yeah, I think me and the rest of the Proud Boys would make this about like 10 to 40% more racist and about 50 to 80% more homophobic.
Racist just against everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, that's a loaded question.
Except the master race of PC gamers.
Yes.
No, to take this question seriously, like, I don't need to repeat the brilliant points that Natalie made. Natalie made great points, which is that, like, this is a project that can only exist back then, only exist in an area of like the scary movie franchise, and you know the different area where the idea of like where parody was more popular than satire. Where parody was more popular than satire. Because this is very much a parody. Because parody being like, I'm going to dub over this and be like, boop-a-doo, I love dick. And satire being like having a substantive criticism of something. And there are moments where they satirize it where, there's a moment where like the mouth flaps move extremely quick on one character. And the English dub actor goes, oh my God, these are the fastest mouth flaps I've seen in my entire life. And he just goes and he covers that. And, that's satirical. But otherwise, this is kind of like such a low form that like it almost serves more as like a relic. Dr. Seuss would have loved it. God, we're not trying to cancel Dr. Seuss on the pod today, but maybe stop reprinting the books with all the black people in grass skirts. Maybe we start there. Anyway,
you're asking a lot here, Pax. I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The culture is getting so poisoned, dude. And so I almost wonder, do we think the culture is ever going to like wind back around on this being like funny? I mean, does history work in cycles where we're going to like go away from like the Rick and Morty, like meta postmodernist, like self-critique of like different plot structures and like into like, man, I just shit out my doo-doo ass. Like, are we going to go back to this? What do we think?
I mean, if you think about it, that was only like 15 years ago, like less than 20 years ago when this was like huge, that kind of humor, even less than that. So yeah, I think it could very easily go back to that. I mean, history repeats itself in so many different ways, whether we're doing like troll face memes, you know, again, and whether Pepe the Frog ever stops being a hate symbol, that's a different thing. But I think you could very easily go back to that time period, but I don't know. Could be. What do you think, Natalie?
I think it's possible. I almost hope that if we do get back to that place, I would hope it would come from, you know, there's this whole thing of like reclaiming words and phrases that have been used to demean people in the past. So if it does come back, it's because we've swung all the way around to, you know, using the R word or the F word that's been totally reclaimed and would never be used as like hate speech ever. That I don't know.
This slur is now my sword. Like very much that kind of.
My slur can reach the sky.
Okay,
but
cool.
yeah, I think it's always possible for things to come back around.
Ooh, you know what mindset this whole thing reminds me of? Because there was something Natalie said that like struck this in me. Did you ever know people who this was their personality? They'd be like, they would crack endless like offensive like racist jokes or and sexist jokes, and they'd be like, I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, I just hate everybody equally. Did you ever hear a line like that? Because I heard that from a lot of people. They're like, yeah, I hate everybody equally. I'll make jokes about you if you're white, if you're gay, if you're, you know, black, Puerto Rican. Like, I hate everybody equally. And the idea behind that was always like, and that, you know, as if that cancels each other out. That doesn't make you racist. That makes you the most racist person
that
imaginable.
Makes you evil is what that makes you.
An evil person. And so like, is this an evil thing? You know what I mean? Like, is this an act of evil creating it? Maybe I've talked myself around.
So we have to subtitle it Ghost Stories, An Act of Evil.
Yes. Yes. That's the name of the episode now. Ghost Stories, An Act of Evil.
Perfect. Yes.
That's the name of the episode.
I like it. There's a title.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, Pax. It could be. Here's the thing. It is really a matter of preference because evil is such a, when it's put into an art form, you run into the danger of it being considered subjective instead of objective, of just being like some people being like, oh, well, it's not that bad. And other people being like, actually, of course it is. It's horrible. It just so happens that there are like two people that disagree with that. And so it's suddenly considered not. I think that when it comes to ghost stories in particular, if you're are you asking my opinion or are you asking like just a rhetorical question?
How about this? A question that's more tangible. Are there things that should not be joked about straight out, period? Things that flat out you should not make jokes about them? Like in any case? No. Like, what do you think?
rape jokes, can't do them. I can't do rape jokes. Though that's something that actually will get me angry pretty quickly. Especially when they're done in a way like by Schrodinger's douchebag, that effect where, I'm kidding unless you agree with me, because then I mean it. In which case, let's do this. And I find that rape jokes are usually in that vein of a thought process of I'm going to say this really, really risky and dangerous thing and to test the waters and see how my relationship with this person is affected by it. And if they're okay with it, boom, I'm going to make this more of a thing because I want to. And it's just not me personally. I think that, it is just a fucking ultimate evil. So, I don't do rape jokes. Not a thing.
Natalie?
I would agree
What's your
with you.
unforgivable sin?
I think there are I think there are definitely things that are just evil to mock, the very act of poking fun at someone or something or a situation that is nothing but awful and traumatic and horrible. What's wrong with you if you are going out of your way to find a way to make that humorous?
So are we referring to the principal of the school being a lesbian? Are we referring to the Jewish boy of the character being Jewish and waiting for a nice Jewish girl? That joke? Are we talking about
even before the nice Jewish girl? How about, don't worry about that dreidel spinner?
Yep.
I said,
yep.
Excuse me?
Yeah. This show really does kind of cover all the bases, doesn't it? It kind of does.
It does.
Yeah. Oh man. So this is complicated. It's great that this is leading discussion, and I hope that this is making people interested, because again, it's imagine you saw one of those really kind of poorly done manufactured out of a factory anime that came out in the early aughts, but it was written by demons. And
right.
it just, and here's the thing that really f's me up about this, that really grinds my gears, is that I did see the original Japanese. I did look at the original Japanese. And one of the reasons this gained cult status is that it's only been recently that you can just find whatever you want on Crunchyroll or Amazon Video. It's a new thing. This used to be something that was really hard to find. And which is why it gained this legend status. And the original version is completely straight-laced. It's just oh, Kenshiro, let's examine the classroom. Rather than Kenshiro, let's go to Uganda and recreate war crimes. It was nothing like it. It's completely divorced from this. And so, but something that's odd is that one of the reasons it was so unpopular in Japanese is that the quality of the voice acting was so bad, and it didn't even match up with mouth movements. It didn't even match up with mouth movements in native Japanese, because it was just pumped out of this freaking factory and it landed like a thud. Whereas the voice actors in this are legitimately fantastic. They're really high quality voice actors. They nail every mouth movement. And you get the sense that this is both an act of incredible love, like a love letter to the art form of anime with all of these inside jokes, and yet this act of just supreme, insane cruelty. And so what do you do? Because we're all actors. What do you do if you're in a situation where it's hey, go improvise jokes about pushing people in wheelchairs down an escalator? What do you do if you're hired for something like this? I have no idea. Well, here's the thing. It wouldn't happen today. Is that even a good question? I think that might be a shit question.
I don't think, at least in a mainstream, I don't think that would be pumped out on mainstream entertainment. I don't think that is something that would be made known to the public right now, or at least something that would gain any sort of traction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I have seen audition notices and calls for these shows that, upon researching them and upon doing a little investigation into the people who produced them, the people who wrote them, I'm just this is just absolutely insane. It is insane that you've created this website. It is insane that you are asking this of entertainers out there right now. That's actually a very common thing, but you don't see those because they don't succeed because no one does them. Or at least the people who do them, they never get seen. They just kind of get tossed into ether and then they sit there. So faced with that, because I have been faced with that, I just literally looked at it and was like, nope. And I swiped and then that was it.
I don't think it's a bad question though, because I don't know if anything to this degree would be made right now, but actors are still put in these kinds of positions all the time. Like, how many theater companies are trying to put on In the Heights with some white people, you know? And like, if you're offered that job when you were maybe auditioning for a season and they want you to play a Latina woman when you're white as driven snow, like it would be very frowned upon for you to take that job. But if it's that job is what's coming between you and starving, that's a really hard question. That's like a lot to be put on the actor themselves.
That is such a brilliant comparison. That is such a brilliant like connection there. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, I mean, West Side Story is like the go-to thing for things like that.
Yeah.
And the thing that can't be unspoken here is that I'm just looking through. I Googled every one of the main characters in it, and this was entirely like a white voice cast. One person of 8 was like part Honduran. But that's something we can't ignore too, in that like it's the year 2000 and you've gathered together like 8 white voice actors to go into a room and make fun of people with learning disabilities and Jews. Like, it's pretty intensely fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as we have covered a lot of great ground in Ghost Stories today.
Well, it's and there's something to be said about that too. Is it bad if you do a really great job at a terrible job?
Well, yes, it is bad. That is what I will say. Yes, it is bad because being good at creating pain and like tormenting others does not lessen that evil. It just means that you are talented. It means that you have skills. It doesn't necessarily change the subjective nature of the act that you're committing.
Yeah, you could be the best serial killer in the world. That's
right.
True.
I could be amazing. I could be able to flay a human body in under 5 minutes with a pocket knife. That wouldn't mean I'm really good at it. I'm still a bad person.
Whereas in real life, he's been stuck at the 6 minute mark.
I'm stuck at 6 minutes. Yeah, I haven't been able to pass 6 minutes.
Yeah. So, okay. I think that we can kind of go to some like some broader finishing questions here, right, Al?
I mean, do we like it? Do we like it?
Because that's I think the core of it, you know?
Yeah. Like, do we like it? Did we enjoy watching this? I can go first.
Yeah, by all means.
I absolutely loved watching this. I did. I loved watching this because for me, it felt like an exercise of like, how far are we going to go? It was kind of like when I was watching Game of Thrones for the first time. And I was just like, I have no idea what is going to happen because they are crossing every single line that I can think of. They're crossing all of them. Mm-hmm. And for me, watching Ghost Stories, I'm like, this is a complete shot in the dark as to what's about to come out of their mouths next. And for me, it was very much, it is unusual that I watch something with that feeling of surprise, with consuming this and being like, wow, I cannot fucking believe that this is happening in front of me right now. I cannot believe it. And what I had to do was just kind of sit back and be like, okay, that was messed up, but here we go. Kind of the same way that they give you a notice before you go in to watch the Book of Mormon. You know?
Good comparison. That's super similar, yeah.
So yes, I did enjoy it. Would I want to see that made by someone now? No, I would not want to see a current revival of like a 2021 Ghost Stories. I would not want to see that. That would be whack.
I meant to tell you, I just booked in the live action Netflix adaptation. I'm playing the part of...
You're playing Momoko?
I'm playing the racist lesbian, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, congrats. Good for you. Way to book.
Thank you. We actually have it's being co-written by me and the entirety of 4chan actually. So we're working hard. We're pumping these scripts out. I love that for you. Love that look.
Love Journey 3.
So do we like it? Do we like it, Natalie? What do you think? Do you like it?
I'm gonna say, aside from the visceral reactions I was having to some of the slurs, I want to say I hate myself for saying yes, but yes, because there were just some brilliant freaking moments of like, oh God, when the episode where they are they're in the school broadcasting station. Mm-hmm. And there's like a 2-minute long scene where the teacher just will not leave and keeps saying the most sexual things to Satsuki. And she's like, I'd like a minute alone with that microphone. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I hated myself for cracking up, but I was laughing my ass off. I can't say that I wasn't. And when she like walks into the office and the teacher says, "Oh, you're here. That's a tardy little outfit." Like just the little quips like that were so funny. Yeah. And the fact that these were supposed to be 5th graders, like it's just such an outlandish situation that I hate myself for it. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were moments. I used to work at a factory. I used to work at a factory making Mr. Clean magic eraser products.
No, you
and
didn't.
There was a day where I had worked, and my shifts there were like 14 hours. I would work like 3 14-hour shifts a week, and it was insane. And so there was one where I worked like a double and a half, where I worked because they needed me, they paid me like double, and I just needed to make this money, like for essentially a full shift in which I worked until it was like 4 a.m. Like it was like an overnight shift. And then I picked up the morning and I was just so strung out on caffeine. And like, I like worked straight through a night and into an afternoon. It was insane. And probably not legal. So I won't say the name of the company, but, I'm glad I worked there. It was
not
actually
legal, but sure.
And yet this was a moment where a movie called Sausage Party just came out. A movie called Sausage Party just came out, which was that like Seth Rogen 3D animated film. And I was like on the verge of consciousness. I was like seeing double. I was so strung out from factory labor. Like I was like feeling off. And yet I promised my friends, I'll go see it with you. Because I felt like a walking corpse and I hadn't even slept. I was working and I just like came out like a shambling corpse, my eyes going out of my head. I had like almost a complete like panic attack while watching Sausage Party. I suffered complete ego death. Like I had just been on a 2-week silent retreat. Like for real, I had a deeply spiritual experience because I was seeing something where it felt like I was watching some fucked up like a Flash cartoon parody made on like Newgrounds.com in 1998. And yet, unlike being alone in my room giggling at someone doing a Metal Gear Solid parody, I'm suddenly surrounded by like 80 other people in the theater laughing at the pornographic 3D image of like a hot dog banging a Hasidic Jewish bagel in the middle of a mart, and one of them's voice acted by Seth Rogen, and then Seth Rogen's actual face appears at the end. And so all of this is to say, this was a moment where I had an almost complete breakdown afterwards. I was like catatonic. They wanted to go to Denny's afterwards, and I went, and I said like not a word. I was just kind of like, I'm really freaked out, guys. And like, the first time I saw Ghost Stories, it was kind of similar. And this is to say that like, there's this element of I shouldn't be watching this. Like this is it really is. It's a once in a lifetime type thing. Cause I don't know if this inspired Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series or Dragon Ball The Abridged series, which came out a year and 3 years respectively after this, which were huge hits, but no professional studio will ever do this again. And we haven't even talked about what do you feel like as the author, where you pour your heart out into like a little series about kids and Japanese folklore, and then somebody makes it into this over in America, and that's what it's known for. That's a really fucked up thing as a creative author. I have no idea how he feels. But the thing that keeps me attached to it, because it's kind of like undeniably really funny, is that there's some legitimately very smart, like, just meta moments and fourth wall breaking moments. My favorite one being, I think it's an episode, I think it's in episode like 12 or 13 again, but they actually like break the wall in a really interesting way where they have a note that was written where the like kid with the dumb kid who when he cries you can't hear him well has written
Yeah, the little brother. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenshiro. And clearly in Japanese it was like a clearly legible note, and you're used to watching anime where there's a little asterisk above it and then they have the English translation on top of it. And so even the post-production people were in on the joke because the asterisk above the letter was P.S. Mom, you are going today to Mom Curly. P.S. Kenshiro. It was illegible. It was completely illegible. I lost my shit. It was so funny. And so it's like there's legitimate, you could tell it's people who loved being like voice actors, and some great voice actors really just riffing on their art form and like really making some incisive commentary mixed in with these insane dreidel jokes. Like, and so to answer the question, thank you for letting me share the sausage party story. Yeah.
God, that's incredible.
Yeah,
first
I
of
like
all.
ghost stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all like ghost stories. And now here is the follow-up question. Would we recommend ghost stories? Would we recommend someone to watch this?
So, I tried to.
Okay,
You
go on.
tried to?
Hal, our dear friend Andrew, and
Oh, no.
if I may, I have a sound bite.
Yeah.
Play it
Thank
right
God.
now.
Okay.
Producer credit going to Natalie. We're getting the sound bits here.
Ready? Here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
What did you think of the first episode of
Can you
Ghost
hear it?
Stories that we just
Yeah.
watched?
It was fucking terrible.
Coming in hot with a bold opinion. Okay. Now, any specific thoughts on any characters?
Yeah, the little kid. I don't know if you guys seen Castlevania, but like, there's a moment where all the vampires are raiding a town and like shredding people limb from limb, and that's what I need to happen to that child because he was so annoying.
Oh, dear little Ketchiro. What a fate that has befell him.
Wow.
So that was after episode 1.
Andrew condones child murder.
I mean,
Canceling Andrew on the pod today.
Oh, man. That's
Andrew, welcome to
amazing.
your first and last Brotaku's Anime Club appearance. How dare you slander Ghost Club?
uninvited.
We should still have him on sometime, though.
Oh, wow.
I
That's incredible.
tried.
So you did recommend it. And that's what happened.
I did. Because it was kind of like, you have to experience this because I can't possibly explain it.
Hal, what are you thinking?
It reminds me of a certain video that circulated the interweb when I was in middle school.
Are you... Does it begin with this number?
It does begin with that number. And that is a similar experience to what you just described, Natalie, where seeing is believing. And
To find out what the number was, check out the Brotaku's Anime Club YouTube page and look at my fingers.
Hey, yo.
Yep, because I'm not saying it, I'm not doing it.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like what are you implying when you recommend something? Because if I found a video on Reddit of a professional gymnast who was jumping on a gigantic trampoline, practicing a trick, while next door, due to a freak rubber band and watermelon incident, as the video of the man jumping up a trampoline, as he ascended the air, suddenly a watermelon at 400 miles an hour impacted his scrotum and exploded on impact, and it hit the front page of Reddit, and it was 500,000 upvotes. If I were to share that video with somebody, video doesn't exist. But if someone's trying to recreate it and is good at slinging fruit, let's do it. Let's get them upvotes. Let's get those out. Let's go viral. But if I were to share that with somebody, I know that my metaphors are pretty wild.
They're involved.
They're involved. Our listeners often comment on my involved metaphors, but whatever. It's my show. If I were to share the video of watermelon testicle explosion, I wouldn't be saying to the person I was sending it to, I wish this happened to you. I hate you. I wish this happened to everybody and existed in real life. It would be like, oh my God, you gotta see this. You gotta see this. It's a spectacle. But like, also, here's the key. Here's what it boils down to. You would not recommend to somebody this show to somebody if you knew that they weren't down.
Of course.
Like, if you knew that they don't want to see shit like this, and you know who doesn't want to watch it, you know who wouldn't like this show. Immediately, you know. Like,
and if you don't, then you don't know your friends, and you need to reevaluate your relationship with those people.
Totally right.
Yes, and I would agree with that. I would never show that to someone. I would show this to someone where I was like, this is going to shock someone in a way that is pleasing. This is going to shock someone in a way that would be synonymous with me like tickling them. That is what it would be.
Ooh, yeah, if they're into it. If they like that.
It would be very much something where like if you are that close to someone where you could like reach up and go, "Gah!" and like tickle them, and they'd be like, stop it. And then like you guys would have like a good time.
Oh god.
If you can have that kind of fun with somebody, then you can share ghost stories with them. If you think that someone's gonna look at you like, get off of me after you tickle them, don't share ghost stories. Don't.
Yeah.
Because they're not ready for it.
Ask consent first. Like, ask consent if they're
It
down
really
for some
is
crazy
about
stuff.
consent.
And, you know, speaking of that, we've kind of violated that because I think what we did to Natalie is a textbook example of what not to do with ghost stories.
Yeah, that's true. So
dare you?
Yes, we do owe you a big Brotakus anime club apology. Natalie, Pax, I actually won't speak for you. I am so sorry that this was my brainchild. This episode was something that I brought up that I wanted to do. And when your name came up, I simply could not resist. It was as though I had come across a gold mine, and I just had to excavate. I had to find out what would happen. And I am so sorry that I opened Pandora's box on you.
And I'm so sorry your old trusted friend did that to you. And as your new friend, who upon meeting you and getting to talk with you, recognized that you were in fact down, I'll say, you're welcome. Welcome to Ghost Club. Welcome to Ghost Stories, baby.
So Hal, I will never forgive you. Pax, it's all good.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks,
good.
bro. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So Natalie, now that we've covered the apology, now that we've acknowledged your first experience with anime, have we tainted anime for you now? Is it something that you will never touch again?
No.
No,
Maybe
definitely not.
Definitely not. No. Maybe if I were to text either of you and say, "Hey, is this anime good?" Would love like P.S. It's like Ghost Stories, just like a footnote would.
Oh, you want trigger warnings?
Yeah, sure. Trigger warnings would be great. Or just a little footnote, just a little. By the way,
okay.
But definitely not. I know that this is not like. I caught on pretty quick that this was not like the norm for anime. And I'm really excited to finish Titans after a long break to decompress.
I am sorry for telling you that all anime were about toilets and anti-Semitism. That's my bad.
Yeah, that is something that
Toilets. This show loved to talk about toilets too.
Well, it's prime material. It's excellent.
Yeah.
It's you go to poop there. It's pretty funny.
Right. So
Pretty
Natalie,
funny.
I cannot wait until we have you on for our next episodes of Rosario Vampire, the manga series, of Berserk, the manga as well. We'll be discussing both of those, as those are definitely something that won't require trigger warnings. They are
Taking note of the chaos in your eyes, I'm gonna say you're joking.
Yeah, dude. Like, but that said, next time we have Natalie on, I do want to talk about something with like some beautiful, like serious undertones, because like Natalie's smart as hell, and we're wasting her talents on this show for like babies who've just had a brain aneurysm.
Yes, we did just hand beef jerky to like someone who is used to eating at 5-star restaurants. That is exactly what we did today.
I love beef jerky. I'm not mad about
it. I love it. I think that's a good note to end it on.
Absolutely. So, Natalie, thank you so much for coming on to our show today. We really love having you on. We love you. And we've had such a blast recording with you today. And we really can't wait to have you on for another one. We can't wait to watch more anime together. I can't wait for you to watch season 2 of JoJo's.
Yes.
And you're going to have to keep us updated in your progress with all of that. And for all of you listening and watching today, thank you so much for being here. If you liked what you heard /saw, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or review us on your favorite podcasting app, whatever floats your boat. It really does make a difference, and every review counts. We'll be sure to give you a shout out in the air. We'll be sure to send you some letters. We'll be sure to kiss you right on the mouth. Maybe
after asking consent, because Brotaku's Anime Club is big on consent. Unlike you nerds at IGN Anime Club, we're out for you. We're declaring war. But speaking of war, a great war is brewing on YouTube. The battle for attention and views. Please find us on YouTube, Brotaku's Anime Club podcast. Hit the bell. Give us a like. Leave a comment. We'll reply to you. We'll say thank you very much. Got to get the plug in there. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm Hal.
I'm Pax.
And we're the Brotakus. Natalie, again, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
Great night, y'all.